The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another session of Huddle Up here with the fellas DA, scoreboard guy, Austin Bradley, gentleman that has a phone in the freezer behind some butter. I don't understand it, but it's here with us, and we're going to start and get into it. We're going to jump into this episode of Huddle Up here on Thursday, September 29th. I'm glad everyone is out there. We're going to jump into it. I'm in the prediction business. That is what I'm in. I told everyone that Albert Pujols would hit number 700, and I said that he would do it in LA. Is anyone up to dispute my claims of prediction, Mr. Guy Newcomb himself?
You are drastically misremembering what was said. That's all I can say. And but no, I did go out on a limb, said it hit it in LA. He would come home with 700, and he did.
You didn't go out on a limb. You were actually sitting out on a tree stump. Everyone knew that he would hit 700. DA was a quiet closet. He hoping he didn't. But DA, you didn't give a prediction, but I think you're on board with the 700. Am I right?
You're right from the beginning. And Johnny, all I got to say is, how do you like your crow cooked?
Well, medium rare. All right, so here we go. Now I'm gonna slide it over here to the trader here, the one who turned his back on me when we were in this No Pujols 700 club. Austin, tell me what made you change your mind and become a 700 fan of Mr. Pujols?
So I actually thought he was going to hit 700. I did not think he would hit it on that road trip. I thought it would be either at home in the series against Pittsburgh or in the final regular season series against Pittsburgh. And it was because he had 6 games remaining against Pittsburgh. That's what made me change my mind. You could not have paid me to believe that he was going to hit it off the Padres or the Dodgers. But hey, I've never been so happy to be wrong in my life.
Well, like I said, I knew he would, but I'm a true blue guy. I'm going to stick by my words. I knew he would hit it. And Guy coming up here just saying, oh, yeah, he's going to hit it in L.A. Well, the next 3 games are in L.A., and the man had just had 2 bombs against the Padres. But congratulations. Everyone here at Huddle Up is very supportive of Pujols and his historic 700 home run. The Cardinals clinched a couple nights ago, and it was a decent party they had going on. Pujols gave a speech about it not being their final destination. Austin, you got a chance to watch a little bit more of it than most of us, and you saw some very interesting Cardinals at their best with a Bud Light in their hand. Tell us some of the things you saw.
Okay, Newbar is barely old enough to drink, I think, and he may have had the most. That for one thing. He was all over the place. He was even still today. He was bragging about his partying skills on the pregame show. And it's funny to me because, you always like to see those guys. That's what they work for. But I'll tell you, the one that got me the most cracked up is one of the guys that was having the most fun, might be the most mellow on the team. That's Paul Goldschmidt. He was dumping beer and champagne on everybody. Pujols, he lifted Jim Hayes' hat up, dumped some on his head. No announcer, player, or anybody was safe from Goldie or Newbar or any of them last night.
I love it. So when the Cardinals clinched, they had a great party there Tuesday night. DA, if all of us was to be in that atmosphere and you would see us clinch, who do you think would be acting the most foolish out of us 4 on this cast right here? And the Huddle Up crew, who do you think would be the Newbart of Huddle Up? Would you put Newcomb in the middle of that?
I think I'd have to. Yep. It's definitely Guy, and none of us could touch him with a 10-foot pole when it comes to that. So definitely, Guy. Hey, awfully happy for the Cardinals. I think from the being a National League Central fan, and I don't think it's any secret I'm a Cubs fan, but being from the National League Central, all of a sudden I changed my hats. I jump on the bandwagon. I become a Cardinals fan. I want to see them do well, and I'll be rooting for the Cardinals from here on out till spring break next year.
Well, if I believe if my days are right, the playoffs start next Friday. Guy, being the local historian here, who do you think we'll be opening up with, Guy?
Well, right now, I'm thinking Philadelphia.
Yeah.
The way the season would end right now, it'd be, the Cardinals would be the 3 seed. They would have Philadelphia at home for 3 games, best out of 3. And right now, with them being at the top of that bracket with the Mets, you've put San Diego, the Braves, and the Dodgers all on the bottom side of that bracket. If the season were to end right now, and I think that's good for the Cardinals. I know you've got Scherzer and DeGrom that in a short series could really put you out of it in a hurry. But Scherzer's owned the Cardinals, but he's been struggling with injuries and things of that nature. DeGrom's only been back a couple of weeks from his injury. So I think the Cardinals right now are in the best possible position that they could be in, avoiding San Diego, Atlanta, and the Dodgers until perhaps the NLCS.
I agree with you. My question would be the rotation. Austin, who do you think they should start off with game one?
Well, I think Michaelis gets game one. He has had 2 just stellar performances back to back. It's got to be Miles Michaelis. Has to be.
Okay, I could go with that. Well, Guy, what about 2 and DA? What are you thinking on 3?
Well, I think on number 2, it's got to be probably Wainwright, and then you're going to Montgomery. I think. I mean, Montgomery struggled a little bit, but I think you go Michaelis, Wainwright, Montgomery, and Quintana eats up innings, but he may be a guy that you may need in a long relief situation at some point. But that's kind of what I would think.
I think if you win game one, you go ahead and go. You put Wainwright on the shelf for game 3 if it's needed, and if it's not, he can open up the next series. That's just me thinking ahead, planning ahead. I think if the Cardinals lose game 1, then I don't think there's any doubt in that type of situation. Wainwright's got to be on the bump, but there's going to be some strategizing, some planning ahead, so to speak, and it'll be interesting.
It will be. Well, we're all excited. We got about a week to go, and everyone will be kind of cuddled up, and we might even have to turn that furnace on here in a little bit and get ready for some Cardinal postseason baseball. I tell you what, gentlemen, it's not a better time for me in the sports realm with the Cardinals on, and then you got your college football and you got your NFL. And speaking of the NFL, the Chiefs went to Indy and kind of laid an egg. If you ask me, they had numerous opportunities to win that game, but it almost became the stereotypical kind of overlook with the muff punt and then giving Indy a shot to say, hey, we can do it. Several drop passes. You had a fake field goal. You had a missed field goal, mixed extra point. And the Chiefs ended up losing that game last Sunday, 20-17. Mahomes was 20 for 35 with 262. He had a TD and an INT. Their rushing attack, they got to get it a little bit more get a little bit more balance in it. But Guy, I don't know if you got a chance to see a lot of it. But what were your general thoughts on the Chiefs and how they kind of performed in Indianapolis last weekend?
Well, they've got to be able to run the football. Their offensive line has struggled, and then they go to a double tight and they put them out wide and try and run a play action off of that. Well, you're not going to fall for that when you can't run the ball and you put your tight ends out wide or your best blockers on the outside. You run a play action trying to stretch the field a little bit. They're just not able to run the ball. They cannot pick up 2 yards, and they refuse to do quarterback sneaks because, he got injured a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of years ago. He got the injury in a quarterback sneak. Well, you take that completely out of it. On the defense, okay, there's not going to be a quarterback sneak. Now you got to turn and take 2 steps and hand the ball deep off in the backfield. And it's ridiculous that they can't run the football. Tobe, who has been kind of the stalwart there as the special teams coach, He had a miserable week, but you're without your kicker. Now Butker came back today, and he was kicking today and had some practice on the field, so he may be back. They did go out and sign. They released Amendola, but they went out and signed another kicker today. But you've got to be able to pick up the short yardage for them to be successful, and they just can't do it. And they've got what's his name? Orlando Brown wants to be the highest paid left tackle in the NFL, and he can't block. It's really frustrating when you look at what they've done and just the non-existent run game. And now they got Tampa Bay, who defensively is really good. And I don't care if you play in Tampa Bay or play in Minnesota, that's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, Johnny, I'm glad you like your crow medium rare because I'm gonna have to share some with you, buddy. I didn't even think the Indianapolis Colts would get a first down, but I can tell you this: no matter how good or how bad the Colts are, that place is going to be filled and it's going to be rocking. And the Colts were a team that played with a little bit of urgency. The Boo Birds were out. They were ready to. People wanted to get rid of the general manager. They wanted to get rid of the coach, and they played with their hair on fire a little bit. I think rallying the troops a little bit. And I just think that Chiefs probably overlooked that game a little bit or a lot, and you could really, if there was ever any question on how important Butker is to that team, it showed. It was unlike Andy Reid in that situation to go a fake field goal. When you can put for sure points up on the board on the road in a tight game and not do it. So they'll get that'll be a good wake up call for them, especially this early. It was not a division game, so I think in the long run that one they took on the chin may pay off for them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this past weekend was just a case of, I think Mizzou and the Chiefs kind of did the same thing. They kind of gave the opposing team any opportunity they could to give the game away. Mahomes throws the interception with 24 seconds left, and obviously that didn't lose the game. It's hard to score with that little time on the clock anyway. But I mean, still yet there was little mistakes, and again, Andy Reid's one of the best play callers in football, in my opinion. And for him to go for that fake field goal as opposed to putting those guaranteed points up, that was definitely surprising. And one of those things, you kind of get caught sleeping. They've got a big game with Brady and the Bucks this Sunday, maybe, depending on weather issues. So yeah, I think it's one of those things that just kind of got caught sleeping, and they're going to learn from it. And I'm sure that this coming weekend and beyond, I don't think you're going to see things like that happen again.
Well, I can kind of agree with you, but there's also some points where you're going, yeah, but the NFL is one of those leagues where people see certain things and they go, okay, this is how you stop them. It's a copycat league, and everyone got that film, and everyone's going to say, well, here's some tendencies, and they don't have the ability to have that big strike, that big, throw to Tyreek, number 10 over there, him taking it a long distance. I think this might be a little bit of a tell about what the Chiefs might be seeing. To hold the Chiefs to 17 points is still, even with everything that happened on the defensive side and everything that happened in special teams, was still an outstanding job by Indianapolis, and hats off to them. Well, we're going to end this segment here. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the Missouri Tigers. And before that, we're also going to talk about someone who's very dear to us and very dear to Guy Newcomb, someone he considers a really close friend and a mentor. We're going to talk about Art Haynes, and we're going to wish him well when we come back. And we got several other things. You stay with us. You're listening live here to Huddle Up.
Step into the new when you drive a Chevy. It's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective, and find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences, find new roads. Chevrolet.
After a long day, a few simple words can make everything better.
Pizza's here!
To end your day the right way, count on the carry-out and delivery experts at your local Pizza Ranch.
Hello once again, and welcome back to Huddle Up here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, alongside Darren Archer, Austin Bradley, and J Mac. Guy Newcomb here. And before we get into this next segment, just want to take a couple of minutes here and mention our good friend Art Haynes. Art Haynes, most of you know, long time Missouri State University Bears play-by-play broadcaster, worked for the university, has been here for about 40 years, calling games, hosting sports talk, and among many other things. He is also the pre, post, and halftime host of the Kansas City Chiefs radio network. Has done that since 2009. Art was stricken with, at this time, they believe, and last report on Wednesday was West Nile virus. Art has been paralyzed. Now, today, he was able to move his fingers or I'm sorry, squeeze fingers. He was actually able to raise his shoulders. He was nodding yes and no to questions that were asked. So he's become a little bit more coherent. Baby steps at this time, but he's in for a long haul, and really to his family. His wife Lisa, his son and daughter Chris and Kathleen are going through some of the worst times. And he was flown by the Kansas City Chiefs to KU Medical Center on Sunday evening. And since then, since he's arrived there, like I said at last report on Wednesday, things have very gradually started to get better. But thoughts and prayers to my good friend and a great friend of the Ozarks. Art Haynes he's one of one. Everybody thinks he's Art Haynes' best friend. That's just the way he treats you. So thoughts and prayers out to he and his family before. And as we head into the Missouri State Bears, they kind of take it on the nose at home to a very good South Dakota State team, 28-14. But I see very similar struggles with the Bears I do with the Chiefs, and that's the offensive line and being able to protect the quarterback and run the football. I don't know if any of you were there or able to watch it, but it was disappointing. But you're taking on the number 3 team in the country. But they've got to rebound, and if they're going to be favored the rest of the way, and as long as they take care of business, I think they're in the playoffs. But I know Johnny Mack, you were listening and have some of the similar concerns as well.
Yeah, I do. The Bears there's a hill you got to climb, and once you got to climb that hill, you got to get to the top of it. And so it seems like we're constantly in a climbing motion, and then we want to slip and fall back. And sometimes, I don't think Petrino's one to really hear these excuses. You're playing a number 3 team, and you're the number 5 ranked team. You got at home, so you got to come through with victories on some of these games. I'm really waiting for that statement game, and I think this was it. And since we don't play North Dakota State this season. So even though the Valley's a tough conference, you got to kind of, put your foot down and say, here's who we are. Here's what we're going to be. Lackluster performance. Couldn't get anything going. Shelley was 19 for 29 for 185. They kind of kept them contained, had a big play to the wide receiver, Raylan Sharp. But outside of that, it just wasn't their day. Let's say that. So as they travel to play North Dakota this weekend, it's going to be very interesting to see how they rebound, Darren. But there are some concerns that will run across the offensive line. But there's also a team concern that I have. Are you really ready mentally and physically to take that next step?
Yeah, I can see those concerns. I think we have to really take a step back, though, and take a look. They've been through the gauntlet with Tennessee Martin, nationally ranked team, played Arkansas at Arkansas, gave them one heck of a game, and then to come back home and play another nationally ranked team in San Diego State,
South Dakota
I'm sorry, South Dakota State. I got too many state universities running through my head. So they've been through the gauntlet. They've been tested right out of the gate early in the season, and I think, like Guy said, they can, they should be able on paper to win out, provided they stay healthy and they get some of the things that you've mentioned shored up, and I'm sure that Petrino knows how to motivate. He knows how to coach them up, and I would say that I'd like to be in this week's practices. But they've been pretty intense, and especially with that offensive line, just like you said, they've got to get a chip on their shoulder and understand that they're protecting one of the best quarterbacks in the FCS division. They got to do their job.
Yeah. Austin, I'm not sure if you want to chime in about the Bears. We pretty much covered it all, but what are your thoughts on the Bears winning out? One slip up could be really catastrophic for our playoff chances. A couple weeks ago, you had SIU beating Northwestern. So, these teams that we thought would typically be pushovers are going to be pretty tough opponents.
Yeah, I think it's tough for Missouri State. I mean, they've been beat up on. They've had a lot of tough opponents, and you go into Arkansas and throw the kitchen sink at them, and it's almost enough. They led at the end of the third quarter of that game. So, I mean, I feel like you can't tell me, and some coaches are going to say there's no moral victories, but at the same time, not that was a moral victory, but maybe an emotional high. And then you come back home, and again, just kind of similar to Kansas City and even kind of similar to Mizzou, and we're going to talk about them in a minute, I know. They kind of laid an egg. So I think Coach Petrino is going to get in there. Again, practices aren't going to be fun. It's not going to be fun to be an MSU Bear football player for this week. And I don't expect anything like that to happen the remainder of the year.
I hear you. Now, I think DA, I don't know if DA said he didn't want to be a Bear or he wanted to be a Bear this week. But, DA, I don't think you want any part of that turf and that practice field this weekend. I think Petrino's going to have them boys putting in some extra work. And I look forward to see what they're going to do in North Dakota this weekend. And you did, Austin, you made a great observation with the laying of eggs. And I don't know if Mizzou really laid an egg or that is who they are. Auburn's not a good football team, gentlemen. They have the name and tradition. And O'Hare Stadium's going to be filled with fanatics. But that game was tough to watch. And so I don't really know where Mizzou goes from here. Luther Burden had 0 yards. 0. And from what I understand, from what I've read, he erased all of his social media accounts of Mizzou. Anything that had Mizzou written about him and with him in it. So what does that say? Is the kid thinking about leaving? 5-star recruit up, and he's already upset after 4 games. It was just a tough game. Mizzou had a chance to win. If you didn't see it in overtime, they had the running back Pete was trying to stretch out, and he fumbled the ball through the end zone and lost. That's basically how they lost the game. Austin, it was a really crazy game. If you had a chance to watch it, but Mizzou is struggling right now. What are your thoughts?
Well, a couple years ago, there was a social media hashtag about my favorite team, and it was Fire Harbaugh. Well, I got a new one. How about we fire Drinkowitz? I'm calling for it right now. That is insane. Yeah. I mean, you talk about just giving it away. Just give it away.
I agree with you. wholeheartedly.
And that's exactly what happened. And I'm going to tell you, you get a 5-star recruit like Luther Burden comes in and you let him get away because you don't give him the football. Goodbye. Good riddance. See you later.
Hey, he came back out. He kind of retracted a little bit of that. Came back out and said, everybody calm down. Let's get this horse going. But he's got $322,000 in NIL money that he's getting paid. How's he going to walk away from that? And what's going to happen there? Are they going to come after him on that? Or is that free money? It's gone.
Free money. It's free money. It's free money.
Yeah. Well, I think he's the 72nd highest paid NIL money in the country right now at $322,000. And that's ridiculous. But I don't know how many other ways you could have lost that game. And for one thing, I don't know, and I hope this score is right. But how do you lose 27-14 in overtime? I mean, that's a 13-point deficit. Ain't the first person that scores?
It's 17-14. They lost.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, my goodness. I thought, man, that really was odd. 14 in overtime. My bad. I thought, my goodness. But no, I think Drinkowitz is done. I don't know if he makes it through the rest of the season. And they got Georgia.
Oh, Lord.
This week is Georgia.
Georgia didn't play well. Well, let me say this. I'm not going to take anything away from their opponent last week. They held Georgia in check. They played a good game. But Georgia's going to be coming on the road. They're going to be looking to prove they're the number one team. I think the rankings come out in a couple of weeks, so people are going to be really trying to up the ante here. DA, I think he makes it through the year, but I don't know. If it gets out of control, some of these games, he could be gone.
Yeah, I'm an old coach. I hate to bury a coach, but daggum, you know what's really funny? I shouldn't say it's funny, but a little curious. I read an article by Paul Feinbaum, and it said one of the SEC coaches will be gone very, very soon. I expected it to say Drinkowitz. Well, it was the coach from Auburn because of how they played against Mizzou. And I don't think Mizzou, I'm not sure, but I think Drinkowitz may have 2 or 3 years left on his contract. That's going to be a pretty hefty buyout. So, I mean, unless things just really, really get bad, I don't think that he'll last the season unless he just completely loses the locker room. But they found 3 different ways to lose that game this past weekend. I mean, you miss a 26-yard field goal at the end of regulation that finishes it up. Okay, Auburn has the ball first. Defense steps up, does a good job of stopping them. They have to kick a field goal. First attempt is missed, but there's an offside call. Re-kicks the ball. Field goal's good. They go up 3, and then of course the fumble at the goal line. That is Mizzou Tigers in a nutshell right there. I'll tell you what I think it did cost was I think it cost them a chance to go to a bowl this year. I don't see how they can reach that magical number 6 from this point forward. They may get to 5. I don't see 6.
Good observation. I just think they're in trouble all across the board. I just think there's something in Columbia that's off. And I'll take it. You know, basketball was off. I'm not going to go into other sports, but the 2 major flagship sports, basketball and football, they're just not performing at the level in which the Missouri Tigers are accustomed to, and definitely what these fans are wanting. And I think heads will kind of roll. I do think there might be some people ponying up some money. And if you got that NIL money, and hey, there's no signature that says you have to stay or pay it or give it back. You simply say, I'm not going to give you all of this, but at one time. But if what I'm hearing from you guys correct, he got that amount of money up front that's publicly known, then that kid can easily say, hey, man, I'm leaving. Or someone's like, hey, I'll give you another $300K. So, I mean, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. But you know what? This segment here we're definitely going to this was a tribute to Mr. Haynes, Mr. Art Haynes. This segment was about him and should be for him. And our prayers go out to him and his family. Sports and everything becomes secondary when your health becomes involved. But we do appreciate you listening to Huddle Up here on the Missouri Sports Network. And we'll be right back with our final segment of the day. Stay tuned.
I couldn't ask for a better agent, for a better company in a time like this, in a disaster where you have no idea where to start.
I learned that there's not a given in life. It takes a team. There's people that are going to watch out for us and that care.
It's been pretty stressful. Once we saw Lori and got our plan, it's a lot better now.
It was like a huge weight lifted.
Welcome back to Huddle Up here on the Missouri Sports Network. This is my favorite segment. I'm so excited about it. I had to go change my hat, put on a different hat. We're going to talk about sports here across the state of Missouri. There's very interesting things that are happening. And we had some scores from last week that were interesting also that kind of made you kind of raise an eyebrow a little bit. And we're going to jump into it with Guy Newcomb here, the scoreboard guy himself, who has a lot to talk about. And there's some big games that were in the Ozarks last week, as well as across the state, Guy.
You bet. Joplin comes down at Class 6. They come down in football and they take on Nixa. Both teams undefeated. The COC's up for grabs. Their state ranking in Class 6 up for grabs. And Ramon Green just went off for the Nixa Eagles. 357 yards, school record, 6 touchdowns, school record, and they win 49-35 against a good Joplin Eagle team. But Nixa, if they're going to compete with the CBCs out of St. Louis and the Lutheran North, who's a machine right now, Coach Learman has got it going on there for Lutheran North. They're not going to be able to give up 35 points to a Joplin team. They're going to have to shore up that defense a little bit. Offensively, they're loaded with Ramon Green. They got Knitzel at quarterback. They're loaded defensively. Offensively, they just got to shore up that defense. In volleyball, on Tuesday night, had a tremendous national type matchup between Liberty and Liberty North. These two schools are 6 miles apart. Everybody knows everybody, and Liberty North going into that game was actually ranked number 2 in the state of Missouri, while Liberty was ranked 3rd, and Liberty won. It was at Liberty North. Liberty did come out on top. They moved to 22-1, and I'm sure they'll take over that number 2 or 1 spot. Had on the Missouri Sports Network, our athlete of the week, Harvey Cisneros, who is from Liberty North, is actually the number 1 recruit in her class in the nation, not in Missouri, in the nation, and she just recently committed to Arizona. So you can catch up with that on YouTube or on our Facebook page, that interview with her and Coach Katie Dowden. But so a lot of things that went on this week. You've got softball kind of wrapping up. Their district seed meetings, most of them are next week. Softball being a fairly short season to avoid some of the weather stuff, but their district seed meetings are next week and the week after that. You've got a Glendale team in Springfield, the Springfield area, that's won more games than they have ever in their history, and they're playing really well right now. Morrisville has had a tremendous start there as well here locally, but then you got to get into the larger schools. It's all about the Bruce Springs and the Blue Springs South. They've always got somebody in the circle that's throwing it in the mid 60s, and it's just tough to swing the bat there. But that's kind of a touch on it. And then with soccer, you've got Kickapoo in that Class 6. They're state ranked. And then you got Glendale. Jeff Rogers just won his 1,000th career game at Glendale High School, and they're ranked number 3, and they went to the Final Four last year. We were there, saw them, got to interview them as well. So it's all kind of catching up, wrapping up right now, but it's a fun time of the year.
That's a great update, Guy. And you have a wealth of knowledge and understanding of what these teams are going through and who's playing good, who's playing not. Austin, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
There was 2 days ago, I was going to come on here and I was going to tell you about Lesterville, and Lesterville's playing really well. They're 15-2 on the season. They were state ranked the last I checked. They're probably not now after what happened to them that I'm about to tell you. They got upset, and yes, it is an upset, by Winona. Winona beat them in 3 the other night. And I'll tell you something. Reese Gray out of Lesterville, she's a middle hitter. She plays all around, but she is a presence at the net for sure. Oh my goodness. She is probably the best hitter I've seen in a long time. And there are a lot of good hitters, and because this is where I'm at is a volleyball area, and there are a lot of good hitters. Nevaeh Malway in Winona, she's a good hitter. Haley Jennings in Eminence is a really good hitter. My sister Kaylee, she's a good hitter, but I'm gonna tell you, it don't matter. They don't come close. Reese Gray is the best hitter that I have seen in person live in a long, long time. Lesterville they got upset by Winona. It wasn't that close, which was surprising to me. It'll be interesting to see how they rebound the rest of the season.
And looking at some more football from last weekend, this upcoming week, one game that stuck out to me from last week, Guy, was took place up in St. Louis between Cardinal Ritter and Lutheran St. Charles. Lutheran St. Charles was last year's Class 2 state champions. They moved up a class. Ritter walked the dog on them. Final score was 33-0. I really think that Cardinal Ritter has placed themselves at the top of the heap as the team to beat. At the midway point through the season in Class 3, they really made a statement. Cardinal Ritter was ranked number 1 going into last week. Lutheran St. Charles ranked number 4. Lutheran St. Charles did not move an inch this week in the polls, so that tells you how good that Ritter actually is in comparison to the rest of the state. Some games against that have state-ranked opponents facing each other this coming Friday, tomorrow night. In 8-man, you have number 5 Drexel plays number 3 Archie. In Class 2, receiving votes, Mountain Grove will take on Class 2 number 9, Mountain View Liberty, and I really scratched my head at that number 9 ranking. I think they're higher than that. This week will show a lot. Also in Class 2, number 4 Lamar takes on Class 4 number 9 McDonald County, which should be another good test, Big 8 conference test. Class 2 number 3 Seneca will take on Class 4 number 10 Reed Spring. In Class 5, receiving votes, Glendale will take on Class 5 number 4 Lebanon, and that should be one heck of a game and contrasting styles to see who comes out on top in that one. And then in Class 6, Lee Summit North plays Class 6 number 3 Lee Summit North plays Class 6 number 8 Raymore Peculiar, and also Class 6 number 7 Troy Buchanan takes on Class 5 number 8 Timberland. And in late breaking news that I saw today, the Archdiocese of St. Louis has announced that St. Mary's High School will be closing at the end of this school year. And for those of you that don't know, St. Mary's is the defending Class 3 state champions, going up a class to State 4, and currently ranked number 1. They have an awfully good football team that's awfully fun to watch, and they're going to be a tough out come November, December.
Wow, that is amazing. That's almost unbelievable. We played St. Mary's when I was in high school back in St. Louis. Very strong tradition-based school. Can't believe it. Very interesting that's going to happen. Well, Guy, tell everyone where they need to be at on Friday afternoons to hear all the latest breaking and all the things that are going on here in the sports world here in our high school region here in Springfield and the area.
Well, Friday at 5, we'll host high school game day. We usually try and pull in some folks from around the state. We've had Earl Austin Jr. on in the past, Bailey Harbert, Max Preston, Dion Cliso, maybe Dave Queedall as well. We bring in folks from around the state, let them talk about their individual areas, about some of the big games coming up, talk a little bit about the other sports that are going on as well in that area. That's at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoons. And then at 9:30 will be Friday Night Live. And we've added some equipment, upgraded some equipment here, so we'll be able to take some phone calls now. We've tested it out today, and Bill Cobb, kind enough from Pizza Ranch, who's spent about an hour and a half, and just making sure we got it downloaded and we've got it tested. I've talked to DA, through Restream today, and made some other tests. So I'm fairly certain that'll work, and that'll make it a lot easier for coaches to be a part of the show on Friday night. Maybe get some other folks involved as well. But looking forward to it come Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it doesn't work, like I said, always the freezer. Always put it in the freezer if it doesn't work. That's the number one way to get things back working again. At least that's what Mr. Austin Bradley described to us. His way of fixing his phone is to put it in the freezer.
I did. I shut it in the freezer.
And it came back working. All right, gentlemen, we're going to run right into it. We're going to run, sprint, jump, hurdle until our next segment is just simply going, what have you been thinking about? Let's do 2 quick rounds. I'll start it off. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this proudly, and I'm going to make some people mad, but how about them Cowboys? The Cowboys played a game on Monday night, beat the Giants. There was a very interesting drop pass that was had but then he came back and caught the touchdown by Mr. CeeDee Lamb. So I'm just going to say really quick, I don't necessarily hate the Cowboys, but how about them Cowboys? DA?
Here's what I'm thinking. What's going to happen in Kansas City to the Royals during the offseason? They've already released their president. Will there be other heads to roll? That's what I'm thinking.
I'm thinking, what prediction is Johnny going to get wrong this week? But no, I'm thinking, how in the world is KU football? How are they not ranked? I mean, give them a number 25. They're 3-0. They've played well. You drive by. I didn't drive by, but you see, folks posting signs that hanging outside of people that live out there in Lawrence. They just took a sheet and painted, "Hey, we want Bama." Well, give them. But I still think they deserve a ranking. 25. KU has been so bad for so long, and now they're 3-0. Give them a ranking. But that's what I'm thinking about.
I am thinking, how are the Cardinals going to approach their starting rotation in this wild card series coming up? Personally, I think Quintana deserves a spot. I think he's earned it. But yeah, that's what's on my mind right now.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to start off round 2 with letting everyone know that next Thursday night, the National Hockey League starts back up, and I'm excited because I think we're cup contenders, and I'm going to honk this horn 3 times. Honk, 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 and if you know anything, that means let's go Blues. DA, it's on to you, my friend.
That's a tough one to follow, Johnny, but here's what I'm thinking. Hey, to all the people in Florida, family, friends, loved ones, our prayers are with you. Stay safe. Praying for the best outcome down there during this tough time. That's what I'm thinking.
Very similar with me. I'm thinking about Art Haynes and his family and continually looking for updates, hoping that things continue to get better. I know it's a long road, but he's a tough son of a gun, and he's been through a lot, with the cancer that he faced earlier in his life. But, Chris, Kathleen, Lisa, God bless you, and we're praying for you.
Yeah, I gotta stick with Darren here. I know there's a lot of uncertainties going on in the world as a whole, but especially down there in Florida and around that area. It's a pretty nasty hurricane. So I'm just hoping for the best. I know my wife has family there. Just hoping for the best for them, and that everybody makes it out all right. So.
Absolutely, gentlemen. The sports world becomes sports, and it's everything that it entails becomes very small when you start understanding the significance of life-threatening illnesses and of life-threatening natural disasters that are occurring in our world. I think we'll end it there. And I will say this for the Huddle Up family, the Missouri Sports Network family, that our prayers and thoughts are with the Haynes family and those that are in that direct path of Hurricane Ian. We are thinking about you, and we hope the best for you. And we hope to see you all again next week here at Huddle Up on the Missouri Sports Network.